Hi, this is Cheryl St.Pierre of Majestic Wire Artworks. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this woven version of a fancy top wrap for top drilled stones. Um, this is one way of doing it, and I'm going to do it a slightly different way in the video than what you see here. Um, I'm going to talk you through it, and I'm going to try and do it almost identical to this up until the part where the end. I'm going to change up the end so that we just have a swirl up here, and we're going to finish it off at the back for those that don't want the loopy ends that I have here. So you're going to have the two different varieties. And so let's begin. So the stone I'm going to use today is this beautiful agate. It's kind of, you can see through it a little bit, but not that much, just there. It's got the lines, and I'm going to use a 4mm bicone. You don't have to use bicones. Here I used a 4mm. Oh, that's a different one. Oh, where'd it go? There it is. 4mm rondelle. And if you want, if you have a matching gemstone, you could use a 4mm gemstone in round or whatever shape you choose. So that's totally up to you. Just for matching purposes, I'm using a 4mm rondelle. Bicone to match this one. And as per normal, I have your supplies in the description below. So what we're going to start with is 20 inches, 50 centimeters of 20 gauge wire, and that's 0.81 millimeters for metric. And we want to find the center of this wire and then just a little bit shorter and give it a big bend. Okay. Put your stone on it. And then we want to close it up like that. You want a little bit of movement like that. And this is a wider stone, so it's going to have less up and down movement, more side to side. The side to side is what's important. And we're going to twist it twice, and hopefully that will make it 5 millimeters from the end of the twist to the stone. Grab my ruler here just a sec. Give it a quick measure. And that's pretty bang on. I think it might be 6 millimeters. So now I want you to take a look at your wires, and the longer one should probably be at the front. We want to pull it to the front towards you, and the other one we want to move to the left like that. Now we're going to flip it around so that the back is facing us, and take your round nose pliers to make the bail. I'm going to push this down like that, and using the largest part, whoops, wire caught on the camera, largest part of the pliers, make your loops for your bail. Okay, and this is the back. Just going to push that together. So it's facing forward. Now we're going to shove that to the side so it meets up with the other wire. And we're going to pull these two wires to the back. and then a whole once more around to the back again. So we want it coming out the back. So this is the front. I had to move this, it bent, and that's okay. We want this to line up as straight as possible. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but if you need to bend it a little bit like that. Okay, so now we need to introduce our weaving wire. And we don't want to wire wrap too tightly or else it won't slide, but we want to do a 5-2 weave with the coiling part on the bottom wire. So we've got to make sure we start on the bottom wire. Okay, focus, focus, focus. There we go, bottom wire. And we're going to start it out. It's just because it's so hard right next to the stone, and we don't want to do it too tight so that we can slide it. So we're doing 5 wraps. Cinch it up. It doesn't, I mean, it might look like it's 4. This part is going to be hidden behind the stone, so 1, 2, and then 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 coil, 2 around both wires, and then 5 coil. We're going to stop at that point and slide it on over to the stone. Now, if you do longer than that, you might have a hard time sliding it over. So that's about as good as we can do it. And what I want you to do is continue weaving at this point until, take your time because it's more awkward closer to the stone. The further away you get from the stone, the easier it will become. So we're going to weave. Let's see, it's 1 1/4 inches, which is 31 millimeters in length. It's really awkward sometimes, especially behind the camera. So I'm just doing a little bit in front of you, and then at this point, I tend to cinch it up every 5, after the 5 coiling, like that. Okay, so I'm going to continue weaving. I want you to continue weaving until you have 1 1/4 inches, 31 millimeters. Okay, so I have finished 1 1/4 inches. Actually, I wonder if I did 1 1/2, in which case, because the coiling we want 1 1/2. That's what I did. My brain just went right to 1 1/2. So for instance, then when I do this, if I have too much, then we unraveled some weaving. So sometimes we get carried away with our weaving and we just go and do it. So the next step I want you to do is I want you to trim off your tail here and as close to the weaving as possible. And it's going to be next to the stone, so we don't even need to crimp it in. Right there. Okay, and then the next thing is to hold your bail straight to the stone. Bring your weaving down like that. And then we're going to make a loop going back up here. And we want the weaving to sit flush Well, now because I did 1.5 inches, I'm making a larger loop there. We will go with the flow. Okay, and I'm going to take this to the back like that. Bail is like that, and that's what it looks like. Okay, and I'm going to trim this off. Now, my original one, focus, 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 focus. My original one, I didn't trim off the bail, and it made the coiling way harder than it needed to be. So we're going to trim this off and tuck it into the back so we don't have to crimp it in, just like that. Okay, and then we're going to bend that down. And because we want, it's going to come back up like this, we want the coiling to be done on the bottom one. And when it's in the front, it's going to be the top one because it's going to flip around as we bring it around. So we're going to take your remainder of your weaving wire, and we've got the bottom wire, and we're going to go to the end and work from the end because it's going to be way easier, and we'll slide it into place. Okay, so my original measurement was 1.25 inches for the weaving, and then 1.5 inches for the coiling. We're going to try just a little bit more than 1.5 and see if it's enough. 1.5 inches is 38 millimeters, so we'll try, you know, just a few millimeters more, 40 millimeters. So the key to a neat coil, my nail keeps breaking, is not letting too much distance between your coiling, but again, we don't want to go over the other wires. See? Okay, so I'm going to do a smidge over 1.5 inches, and I'll be back. Okay, I'm back with that coiling done, and I'm going to measure this. Okay, I did actually 41 millimeters, which is 1 5/8 inches. Okay, so the next thing I want you to do is snip off this wire, the tail there, as close to the wire as possible. Crimp it down. Of course. Okay, we don't want to snip this one off yet, just in case we need more wraps. Slide it down. Okay, like that. And now we want to bend this up so that we're parallel with the other weave. And you want that flush against the bead and wrap it around. But we're not going to head this way. We're going to go behind the bail. And look, the coiling is enough, so I'm happy about that. Oh, it's perfect. Okay. Now, just before you bend any more, we want it flush here. See that lifted up? Just got to make sure it's not lifted up. So you're going to push that down in there. And we're ready to snip off this tail. And it's going towards the bead again, so we don't need to crimp it in. It's going to be tucked away. Okay, so now we want to bring these two wires, stay in focus, around, and we're going to loop in the center there, and see it's going to hide the wire inside there. And we'll just start this loop off like this. Oops, I actually wanted my bead on there. Let's see if we can get the bead on there. So hopefully you'll watch the video in full before you attempt it. And put your bead on first. Get you in place. Okay. Loop you back up. Loop this back up. And then we're going to go around like that. Now it's gotten a little messy on me. Oh, twisted, that's why. Okay. So this one, tighten that up. Yeah. Push that up. Adjust, 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 right? Go in front of the bail. And again, it's twisting on me. Okay, and then come around. And then you got to be happy with the way it's sitting. So if you need to adjust it, then do so. Okay, mine's a little bit messier because I undid it and then did it again. So I'm coming to the front now. Remember, this is where I'm changing it. So I'm going to walk you through verbally how I did it with the other one. So I would lay this flat, and I don't want to quite lay it flat right. Well, sure I can, and then I can bend it back. So you like this, and this bottom wire, you snip it to 12 millimeters from this wire that's crossing over, and this one 10 millimeters, and then you do your loop, and then you just give it a little bit of flexing to give it that look. Okay, so now with this, I'm going to bend it back. I've got it forward a bit like this. I want an upwards little swirl. So I'm actually going to flip it upside down to get that in. Oh, I'm going downwards. Yeah, upwards. Okay. So like that. Just to give it a different look. Make the ends secure. And now I'm going to bring it back to the back. Okay, and then we're going to sneak it in there and tuck it in. Actually, we're going to pull it over here and tuck it in at the bottom. So I'm going to bring it down now. I'm going to snip it off, give it lots of length, because we can always shorten it. Peek over the camera. About there. Trim it. And now I'm going to bend it to tuck. Oh dear. Okay. Gotta remember to support the front while you did it. I didn't support it. And it twisted it up, but it's still pretty. Okay, gave it that split look. And you know what? It looks cool. So the next thing you want to do is make sure there's no nothing that snags. And I feel something snaggy. I'm going to crimp it down. I thought that was behind, but I must have. Here, can you? It's gotta move stuff. Okay, I'm actually going to take that and tuck it in. I feel like this whole video I've been fighting with the focus. There, nothing snaggy. Okay, because if you're wearing a sweater, you don't want it to snag on anything. Okay, and there it is. So that's the different look. So you can either have it with the ends like that. So this one I measured 12 millimeters from the wire that is crossing over. And this one I measured 10. So actually what I did is I snipped both of them off at 12 and then shortened this one to 10. And then took my chain nose pliers and did that loop, gave it an extra swirl. See how it swirled a little extra in there? So I just kind of gave it a little bit more curl. Okay, and we'll do the loop up. So it's a little bit more complicated than the last one. Everyone's going to turn out differently. This one's got more space in here. It's a wider stone. That makes a difference. So an oval stone will have the wider throat as well. And there it is. Okay, thank you for joining me, and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.